Hey everyone, welcome to another Cup of News episode with your hosts Peter and Matt. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate your participation and tuning in every single week, every single bi-weekly even, or listen to our episodes or whatever it is. We really appreciate it. It gives us a lot of motivation if you guys like, share, or hit that 5 stars. It motivates us to keep on producing this high quality content and podcasting twice a week as we have been this year. Cupofnurses.com for anything related to us and merch. Our website is finally done, published. There's a lot of blog posts there. Check out our Facebook groups that we're engaging with. Same thing, Frontline Warriors. Check out We Are Frontline Warriors or We Are Frontline Warriors Club.com, where you could read our blog posts about mindfulness, consciousness, and the movement that we're starting. And of course, vlogs are coming out every single week, so tune in for that. And a little surprise, we got something we're working on, something big that's coming soon, so stay tuned for that. How you doing, Pete?
Yeah, that was a mouthful, dude. There's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of advertisement there for us, huh? A lot of promos.
Yeah, I know, right? There's a lot of things we're working on. But this episode, we're going to talk about Afghanistan. For all those of you that don't know, Afghanistan is located between Turkey and Iran, and the U.S. recently have gave up on the war efforts in Afghanistan, and basically we took out all our troops and all the U.S. citizens that were there and headed back to the United States.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this episode to break down what's going on, because this hasn't been only happening for 2 decades. This goes way back to the 70s and 80s. Afghanistan is a country that's valuable when it comes to minerals and resources.
I think lithium, right? Lithium, and they make a lot of opium. But low-key, I want to make it known that I wanted to wear, but Matt didn't want to wear, Ski Mask first episode. We totally should have wore Ski Mask first episode, but it is what it is. I just want to make that known because it would have been funny.
Okay. Would have been
but
a
lithium,
good
right?
idea.
They got lithium in Afghanistan. They have a lot of opium in Afghanistan, of course, oil. And I'm not sure that's why we entered in the first place.
Right.
But, on the back end. But we've been there for a lot longer than 20 years.
Yeah, and the Soviets started it up in 1979 when they entered Afghanistan and started a decade-long war. So there has been interest already in this country. The Soviets tried to establish communism in the people, but it did not work out. And it's kind of funny how things play out, because the United States had some funding to try to get the Soviets out of Afghanistan, but in return, we created terrorism, or a more extreme source of terrorism.
Yeah, and that's kind of it sucks, because usually when you enter a country like that, 2 things are gonna happen. You're going to fund it, but the country's going to go one way or another way, and you can't really predict what the outcome is going to be, even though we went there with our best intentions. So, like Matt said, we entered Afghanistan initially to fight off the Soviet communism that was going on over there, and we happened to side with the Mujahideen, which was at that time like the Afghanistani rebel groups that were fighting also against the Soviet Union, because they also wanted control.
Yeah, like guerrilla fighters, basically.
And once we helped them, we basically won that war, you could say, because the Soviet Union eventually left Afghanistan. But unfortunately, what happened was that the Taliban eventually took over, because when we were fighting the Soviets, we weren't just fighting the Soviets with the Mujahideen, we were also fighting Soviets with other rebel groups. Secondly, we were funding them. And then once the Soviet Union left, all these other rebel groups were fighting for power, because there was more than one rebel group. And what happened was the Taliban took power, and by accident, you could say, we helped fund the Taliban, because the United States and Taliban were fighting against the Soviet Union.
Yeah, and we also helped fund Al-Qaeda, which is another branch that branched off from this Mujahideen, right?
And that was in 1979, and I think by 1999 or 1995.
1989.
More, yeah, so started in 1979, and then by 1989, the Taliban took over, right?
Yeah, and this was it's interesting because, another transition from government. We tried to establish communism, didn't work out. We go back into the old form of government that took place. And in 1996, the Taliban took control again. United States leaving is just a perfect example that shows you that we just can't come in by force and try to establish democracy, especially centralized government. If you look at the Taliban, these people, they're formed based on old school methodologies of tribe, families, religious, they create groups and little ecosystems based on things like that. Not one form of authority. That's why I believe things never worked out in Afghanistan. And you could, and they also had a corrupt form of government that we'll get into. So it was just doomed to begin with. But we got in there. We went in and we started a war.
Yeah, I mean the thing is so when we were in Afghanistan, and then at one point we left, and then next another point we re-entered, right? So if you think about it, I wonder what would have happened if we fully stayed there, because we kind of were there just to fight the Soviet Union, and once the Soviet Union left, we kind of left with it and basically let it do their own thing. We helped kind of establish a transitionary government, but then the Taliban took over anyways.
Yeah, and Osama bin Laden got welcomed to Afghanistan because he was, I don't know the whole background of this dude. Plus, he was in the CIA. Who knows what the truth is? But he was a terrorist that was jumping around to different countries like Pakistan. And then I think in 1991, he was in Sudan, where he stirred up the pot a little bit. And then he transitioned to 1996 to Afghanistan, where he was formerly known as Al Qaeda.
Yeah, he was welcome there because they had common interests involved. So basically, the Taliban that now held the governmental power in Afghanistan, they were still fighting the Mujahideen because there was still a battle for power. And basically what happened was the Taliban brought in Osama bin Laden to help them fight Mujahideen, but under the condition that the Taliban help Osama fight the United States. That was their agreement. And they both were fighting off Mujahideen, and the Mujahideen then came to us asking for backing, for help, and we never really helped them or supported them very much. And then what happened was on September 11, 2001, we had the attacks on the World Trade Center.
Yeah, we never cared to help them as a country. It was more about just helping Russia get out of there.
Yeah.
It's all about resources and like that kind of political war.
It wasn't really about even resources at that point in time. It was just, we just did not want Russia to have any kind of gain
in the Middle
East.
Yeah.
We would have rather had a country in turmoil than have Russia have power over it.
Yeah.
Just crazy, dude.
And in 1999, the United Nations labeled Al Qaeda and the Taliban as a extreme terrorism group, and this is where things started because we started sanctioning this country. So in return, 9/11 happened. We know what happened there. There's not much to talk about.
Yeah. So basically,
Fortunately, sad time.
Yeah. So the Taliban helped Osama bin Laden destroy the World Trade Center, and then in return, Osama bin Laden and the Taliban also worked together to kill Mossad, which was the head of the Mujahideen.
The anti-resistance of the Taliban.
Yeah. So basically, they co-inspired and did both these deeds, which is what they wanted to do. Which is crazy.
Same week.
Yeah, same week. So September 9th, the Mossad guy dies from the Mujahideen, which is their leader. So they're basically out of the picture now because they've probably been destroyed because the leader's gone. And they also bombed the World Trade Center, which is a giant impact on the United States of America. Which is crazy.
And after we invaded the country, finally in 2004, January 26th, we established an Afghanistan constitution. So we established democracy. But later we found out that that same president that was elected, Hamid Karzai, he ended up to be corrupt and he fled Afghanistan. So it just shows you, what happens. And even adding, moving the timeline forward to what happened just now, Joe Biden blamed everything on the Afghan security forces for fleeing. It's not only them that caused the issue, but also Afghan forces. What were they fighting with for? Did they have money? Did they have ammunition? How are they getting treated if it's already a corrupt government to begin with?
Yeah. I mean, the United States came in there with the goal of training everybody and putting a good system in place so that when they leave, the military and the police would transition into power. That was the main goal. And it just shows you that it wasn't very effective because they basically gave up within days and hours of the United States leaving.
Yeah, as crazy as it sounds, the way I kind of envision it, because the Taliban people, they're basically nomads of that land and they prefer tribe. This is why it becomes corrupt, because you have everybody that's trying to gain for power. If you have somebody that is off a tribe mentality and you put them into a centralized government, how do you not expect corruption to happen? Where that person is not greedy, but he just wants the best for his tribe.
Yeah, he just wants to impose his tribal power, basically what they stand for, into the law of the land.
Hey, I care about the West. Screw the city and everything else that's happening on this side type of deal.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, man. I still can't believe how quickly they just took over either. If you guys seen the videos of that giant plane leaving and and there's Afghani citizens and people just trying to hold on and leave with them. I think like 7 people fell off the plane and died, which is crazy.
Yeah. For reference, we record episodes ahead of time, so this just happened 2 days ago when we're hearing the news of all of our troops withdrawing from Afghanistan. So probably when they listen to this episode, there's gonna be some extra information, but this is what we just the intel that we gathered from the history of Afghanistan and the current news leading up to what just happened.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Like, I'm not sure what the right way would have been. If I was like the president, I probably would have asked like the military and had them make a decision on it. Because if you remember, Trump agreed with the Taliban to withdraw forces from Afghanistan in like February 2020 or something like that.
Yes,
And
he
then,
did.
yeah,
It was like a 14-month.
Yeah, 14-month deal, and President Joe Biden basically withdrew them a lot earlier than that, which probably wouldn't make sense because I would probably try and stay the full length there just to make sure that everything is properly running. Especially if you're not sure on what's going to happen, why would you leave earlier than later?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the situation. Here we are, two nurses trying to come up with an opinion about warfare and stuff. We played some good ass video games though back in the day with
Nothing to do with what's
War
going
on
on
Terror,
now,
but yeah, but we had a little bit of battle tactic strategies there.
I guess.
I'm messing. But yeah, why did the withdrawal happen so bad? I was looking at different generals that actually did not approve of this because of what's going to happen and how quickly things are going to fall. Today, Joe Biden made an announcement that he blamed it on the Afghani forces, for example. But there was intel that the military was saying that the generals from these soldiers were stealing their money. So if the government, whatever fundings America was giving to fund the military forces in Afghanistan to hold democracy, they were taking from their own people, the higher ups, the government, the generals. So if you do that, how can you boost the morale if you don't give them ammunition or whatever it is, and you're running a shitty government? No wonder they're going to stand down and not protect their own country when the Taliban is coming, because they know the Taliban, right? It goes back into religion and things like that, and this is why Afghanistan was a bad move to begin with. Look at the terrain of Afghanistan; it's rough. There's no highways and roads for our military Humvees and tanks to drive around with. It was like guerrilla warfare, like the in the mountains, like that one movie we even watched.
But you gotta do something. If like somebody bombs the World Trade Center, like what are you gonna do in this case? And so it's like, what would be the best choice after 9/11? After somebody just destroyed a bunch of your buildings?
Well, there's two instances, or there's two different scenarios. Because yes, we took care of the situation and we bombed them, correct? So we took care of the targets. Terrorism is always going to exist.
You think we overstayed?
Yeah, we overstayed. We tried to forcefully establish democracy on a group of people that don't believe in centralized governments to begin with.
And they have been taken over by other countries multiple times.
Right. We don't talk about the industrial military complex, what they're there for. What else are we doing in Afghanistan? Is that the only thing we're doing there? What about the other? We don't know what they're doing. Are they mining uranium or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's all Blackwater operations at that point.
Yeah, who knows? And plus, like when we left, we didn't destroy all our Humvees and all. We left weapons there.
That's another problem.
So it's like, what are they going to do with these weapons and ammunition? They're probably either going to use them or sell them, right? So either way, they're profiting. And this is just a giant wheel of the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
Imagine if the Taliban starts getting more power and using the weapons that we left there and starts taking over different countries, or starts to go into like Iraq or Pakistan or whatever countries else are in the middle. Imagine they start messing with Turkey or something.
Yeah. Did you send me a random video today of the Taliban working out?
Yeah.
That's so funny, man. They're lifting some. They're on the treadmill or something.
Yeah, a bunch of goofs because people don't work out like they do here.
Yeah, and another thing is, if our media believes so much in American, America, freedom, and all this, why would we make ourselves look so bad as a country? We would probably just briefly talk about that and then just sweep it underneath the rug, right?
So what else is going on in the background,
Right, like China, dude. Do you think the Chinese government is going to bash themselves for looking bad and withdrawing, and a bunch of Taliban are running behind a B-52 Fortress bomber, or
Right.
Like that just... the events don't play out. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a conspiracy and what happened didn't exist, but it's just
Something's fishy.
what we always do is we question the narrative, what's happening, why things want to be shown. Just like you mentioned before the show, we talked a little bit about the industrial military complex. There has been years now that there isn't really major war. I know we're bombing a little bit in Africa and fighting terrorism and stuff, but like there hasn't been really much.
Yeah.
How can you stir the pot? Well, one scenario, and this is a hypothetical, if you're going to withdraw all these troops, you're going to arm the Taliban. They have all this military gain now. Are we just going to go back up? Now we're going to say a month or a year later, Al Qaeda is really starting, to do things. They're going to different countries. They're using our own Humvees. Another reason to go back to war for something stupid.
Yeah, and what's even crazier is that you gotta realize that China doesn't meet with a lot of countries, and nor does the Taliban. And happens to be that a week ago,
Drop that
few weeks
fact,
ago,
yep.
yeah, a few weeks ago, China met with the Taliban officials. So imagine what's gonna happen now. China is probably going to have a big play in the Middle East. They're probably gonna help build the infrastructure in Afghanistan, like the United States was doing, right? But it's going to be in China's favor now. So China's gonna help them, and then somehow Taliban's gonna end up helping China too.
Not only that, but if you look back at from an economical standpoint of China, and if they're trying to kind of have the largest GDP, look exactly where the famous Silk Road was. That Silk Road that's running. It goes in order to get into Europe, Turkey's there, but also Afghanistan, everything there. If you are cool with the government and you could just establish your super highway where you could transport goods, materials, not only by ship but also via the ground, imagine that.
Yeah,
And the only way to bridge Asia to Europe is through the Middle East.
Yeah, like right now, probably ground shipping probably takes the longest. But if they could develop some like hyper loop, someone that can push these trains real fast and it just carries goods and products, that'll be wild. Because even Elon Musk is working on tunnels. So imagine there's like a giant tunnel just for transportation of goods from China to like the Middle East and from Middle East to Europe and on. That'd be crazy.
It would be.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We have to do some like math on these. I'm not sure how much quicker like speed train could be compared to flying. Flying's still the quickest right now.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter because if you're transporting tons and tons of material, it's better to do it slower by
train because you can carry more.
train because you could carry more compared to fuel costs and things like that.
True.
Not only that, but if they care about the environment, they wouldn't want to put so much, fumes into the air.
And plus, all the futuristic movies, you always see goods being delivered by like speed train or something, right? There's always something quick. You don't really see planes as much anymore. And that might be why. But imagine that. Imagine it's like a giant hyperloop from China all the way to Europe and going through the Middle East.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to see. Because the United States can't do that. Because we're on a different continent. It's a lot harder for us to do that kind of stuff than China.
We can't. Yeah, we're separated from Europe.
Yeah, I wonder how the Western Hemisphere compares to size of the Eastern Hemisphere. The Eastern Hemisphere is a lot bigger, right?
I don't know if you're asking me some crazy ass
We should look into
information. Let's get a geologist on and find that
that.
out.
Because I'm thinking about like, what if the United States conquers a whole Western Hemisphere and China conquers a whole Eastern Hemisphere? Which one would have better land or more land, right? Because like you see, Russia has a lot of land, but most of that land is garbage. You can't really do anything. Even though it's huge, most of that land isn't very bioavailable to grow like food or whatever. It's just all like ice and desert.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not sure what the main. When it comes to the Middle East, it's more, strategic military bases set up there. You're protecting Europe against two communist country in Asia. As far as resources, the Silk Road, I really don't see why we're there other than that, unless things that they don't disclose,
Yeah, who knows?
And we went from April 14th of 2021 is when Joe Biden said, hey, we're going to withdraw the troops. There was about 3,500 troops or so still in Afghanistan. And now we're looking at August 16th, where Kabul has been overrun by the Taliban, the Taliban.
Yeah. You're thinking about a different conspiracy, dude.
I'm thinking about Freudian slip there about something else, man.
Yeah, man, we're still within days. Like I can't believe, like the Taliban had to be slowly moving back towards Kabul for like a long time for this to happen like this. And there's so much memes going on right now with the Taliban in office. It's funny to look at, but if you really think about it, you're just like, holy shit, it's pretty crazy what just happened.
Yeah, and the big thing from here, it's This is very also similar to Vietnam, where we
Saigon, was it? That's what it was called, the city.
Saigon.
Yeah, in Vietnam, where people were basically on roofs getting airlifted by planes because the United States did a bad job of extraction.
Potentially, I'm not sure about that. What I was referencing more is the way we invaded Vietnam, not knowing fully the fact of what's going on. We just decided, hey, our ship got hit. Let's just go, right? And it was confirmed that later that wasn't even a thing. We just acted based on emotion and poor intelligence. We kind of did the same thing with Iraq when it comes to we got to look for the weapons of mass destruction, correct? We couldn't confirm that they were there, and still we couldn't find any weapons.
Right.
So what happened here is we have the same thing where we're just withdrawing from another country that we failed to establish democracy or whatever other agendas we had going there.
Yeah.
Because Vietnam was a mess too. And I'm talking about this because the Vietnam War, we spent millions, billions of dollars. I'm not sure the facts. But when it comes to the war on terror, we were spending $300 million a day.
Yeah. That's just in Afghanistan alone.
Yeah.
That's not taking into consideration like Libya and Syria.
And we have all these problems in our own country that we still haven't fixed, like homeless population, affordable health care, education,
Nursing ratios.
bridging the gap in our society to be functioning better. And we don't invest money in our own American people, but we have $300 million a day to throw into a freaking war.
Right.
That upsets me, man.
Yeah, that's $2 trillion over 20 years, and that's just the 20 years since 9/11. Imagine how much we spent prior when we were fighting the Soviet Union there, and imagine how much the Taliban and all these rebel groups benefited from it, because they're still in rule. We basically spent $300 million a day to make sure that the United States has word on what goes on in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And look at that. Once that 300 million a day stopped coming in, look what happened. It almost feels like it was pointless.
Right. We just came back. They just took right over.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to follow some people on Twitter that are on the ground in Afghanistan to kind of find out more what's happening. Because you remember the whole conflict between Israel and Palestine.
Yeah. But it's gonna be hard
So-
because you can't have U.S. news reporters there anymore. There
Yeah,
can't be
but-
any U.S. people there.
You could find some people on Twitter's a dumpster for stuff.
True, but
just
like-
people that post things.
Yeah. But then you have to decide which one's actually accurate and which one's not.
Yeah, of course.
I wonder because I watched some videos about the U.S. embassy just being completely burned down and destroyed, and also schools being burned down and destroyed. And like somebody was saying that there's like no women on the streets because like the extremist Islamic law they're trying to oppose basically has no rights for women. But then we just saw a post
just 1 hour
saying-
ago before the
yeah,
show
saying what, that it was not going to be as strict or something like that.
that they're going to respect women. What is it? Women law or not law, but
Women's rights.
women. There we go. Rights. That's the word.
Well,
Rights.
probably to a certain extent though, right? And it's hard for us to know because our only information coming out of that country is not going to be from our own journalists. It's going to be from just people there. But then imagine you recording something that the Taliban doesn't want you to record, and you die, and your family gets killed.
Yeah, it's
know?
it's unfortunate.
That's
too.
what's scary because they don't. And then the Taliban's also saying that they don't want to have any more negotiations until every non-Afghani person is out of the country. So they want the French soldiers and NATO people to leave as well.
Yeah.
They don't want any military groups there, any like people from different countries that aren't their citizens. So imagine that. So they basically went back on an agreement because the agreement was that hey, we'll keep talking once we take the U.S. military out of there. And we took them out, and the Taliban's like, no, well, we don't want to talk anymore.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Iraq, which is a country right next door to Afghanistan where we're doing our war on terrorism there, because Joe Biden announced that at the end of 2021, he's going to stop combat missions in Iraq. What that means that we're not fully withdrawing our troops because we're still going to be training their military forces, supposedly.
So same thing basically did in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
Same exact thing.
but it didn't work out. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it works out.
We'll try out this country, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, and now, like, speaking of the other wars, we're still in Libya. We're still in Syria. We're fighting ISIL there or ISIS. And it's wild. And we're going to be there for a long time again. Because these wars, as you've seen, don't last a few years. They last decades.
Yeah, and that's just $1 million question is, should we continue being this world police state where we have the right to establish democracies wherever and all that, or should we withdraw a little bit and focus on our own American people? Because look at our culture here, like just for a sec, there's just so much stuff happening, including there's a giant pandemic. Should we maybe invest this $300 million a day to something else?
We can now.
We can do a lot of work.
Oh, you know what's even crazier, guys? Is this is all on interest. So we've spent year to date almost $2 trillion, if not a little more, plus or minus like a few percentage points, But if this doesn't get paid off by 2050, this war total is going to be 6.8 trillion.
I think that's more than our current debt.
Dude, it's wild, man. That's so much money. Imagine that. Imagine what we could have done with that. But then it's like, who knows what could have happened? Because it's one of those things where if we don't do it, who is going to take advantage of us not doing it and do it themselves? Because China's doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, you're talking about other countries that they could just come in and establish their own rule.
So that's the thing. That's why it's always iffy. Like, should you have a really strong military? Because obviously, if you live in a perfect world, you wouldn't really need a military, right? But the world isn't perfect. So it's like, which country should have the strong military power so they could kind of be the peacekeepers? Because right now it's the U.S. and you guys say China's in second place, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if they're peacekeepers exactly.
Well, we all, I guess everybody peacekeeps in their own way.
They peacekeep by creating communism.
Yeah. I said peacekeeping because I know China and the U.S. are both going to accept that term.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be in the middle. I'm trying to upset any country because I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, I want to wear the ski masks. If I don't say the wrong things, I got to watch my tone of voice because I don't want to offend any countries, dude.
Yeah, because you don't know what happens in the
future.
So
peacekeepers, everybody's a peacekeeper, dude.
Yeah, you never know if you got to go from Peter to Pyongyang really quick.
That's what I'm saying. I don't even know what that is, man.
Create a passport.
Never heard that in my life, dude.
Just to go over some human costs. We're not supposed to laugh during these episodes, bro.
Not to know you laugh, dude. Not that people are gonna be upset.
I know.
But if you had a ski mask, you would have not known.
No one would have known who it is.
Yeah.
So, salute to all the American servicemen that died in Afghanistan.
Thank you for your services, guys and women.
As of April, there was 2,448 troops, 3,846 U.S. contractors, aka we pay the military-industrial complex there. When it comes to the Afghan National Military and Police, that totals 66,000 people. They're the ones that tried to create democracy and thought that it's going to be a better rule and, didn't work out among the bombings and stuff. When it comes to NATO troops, 1,144. And NATO is basically most of Europe and America that are working together as one military branch, we could call that. There was over 47,000 Afghan civilians that passed away.
Damn, dude.
Taliban fighters, it was 51,000 that died. Aid workers, 444. And on top of that, 72 journalists that lost their life in Afghanistan. And that's just one country.
Yeah. You know what's mind-blowing is the amount of civilians that died almost equates to the amount of the Taliban people that died. Isn't that crazy? Was it 47,000 compared to 51?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
We're like 1-for-1 almost for killing a civilian to the Taliban. So how much did we really do there?
Yeah.
How much good versus...
But I'm curious on how much civilians the U.S. accidentally killed and how much the Taliban killed the citizens.
Oh, what about how much they were unreported?
True. People that are still not found.
Yeah, because imagine if you drop a couple bombs, you know the tale.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
So here we are, just another war happening, and hopefully we could prevent wars.
Yeah, or at least learn from this one. Let's see what we did wrong and try to, make those faults better. So maybe we could actually help a country grow and flourish. Because seems like we really fucked up Afghanistan. You know what I'm saying? Not to laugh or anything. We probably fucked that country up. And the Taliban too. Everybody fucked it up. Seems like. Or I never stepped foot there. But from the videos and stuff, it looks like it's not the best country to live in.
And it's not only that country, which is sad. It's Jordan, it's Yemen, Syria, all these countries that were just
war torn.
Yeah, we're tearing apart by war, searching for terrorism.
We should look into why there's so much war in the Middle East. Because obviously over something. It's not just over terrorism. Because there's been always war going on in the Middle East.
I wanted to do that episode regarding Palestine and Israel, and we talked about it. I don't think we were just prepared to gather all this information and try to come up with it. There's just so much history going behind it. It's hard to differentiate right from wrong. We would literally need somebody from Palestine and tell their story, maybe somebody from Israel and tell their story, and then decipher what the truth is.
Yeah. But even if you're never gonna figure out the truth, I feel like, because the
100%.
only people that know the truth are the people that are actually fighting this war. Both sides are going to say people are dying because people are dying. You know, it's
Yeah.
just different perspective. So somehow we gotta get into like the CIA or somebody. Maybe we could find like a retired FBI agent or CIA agent that's willing to share a story.
If the podcast keeps on growing, we have more support. I'm down to talk to an ex-CIA agent and stir the pot, figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
I know this is only a nursing podcast, but we love dwindling, and we haven't talked about war in a couple episodes already, so it's nice. We have different interests. Nursing is amazing. We love conscious and all this, but sometimes when we talk about different topics like war, what's happening in the world, you spark interest to it and you question things, use your curiosity, come up with creative dialogues. Look at this whole episode we just talked about. We created so many different scenarios of what could have been.
And we have no idea still.
We don't know. We provided some facts that are given to us, to the public, but that's all we know, and then we could just speculate.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing, is it's like speculation. Like, you don't know what's going on until you're the one doing it.
100%. There you have it, folks. We broke down the topic of Afghanistan, what happened. Hopefully you guys enjoy this episode and got some value, maybe questioned some things, maybe learned some history about what's happening. It's a very sad situation of what's happening, and moving forward in the next couple of days and weeks, things work out for the better, whatever that situation might be.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. See you guys on the next episode.
Have a good day.
Peace.